Hello everybody, welcome to Bitcoin Not Crypto. You can find me on Twitter X at Forest Total. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the man who predicted 84K Bitcoin yesterday, and he predicted it 129 days beforehand. He predicted it in November with this cryptic poem that he posted on Twitter, and he acted upon it. He knew that, he predicted that Bitcoin was only going to be 84,000, and it was counter to what a lot of Bitcoiners thought. But a lot of Bitcoiners thought, okay, this is the rally. We're going to begin the rally. We're going to see much higher prices. And Josh Mandel is who I'm talking about. He didn't think so. So he was actually selling in the money call options on MicroStrategy, which is a very risky play because you can see those shares called away if those expire in the money. But he was confident that Bitcoin was actually going to go down to 84,000. And when you sell in the money call options, you earn a lot of premium on those. So he was able to turn, I've seen some estimates, he was able to turn around $2 million of strategy into $20 million of strategy through call options, through selling covered calls, through going short, going long, and all of that. We're going to go into exactly what he predicted, exactly what happened, and some more information about who Josh Mandel is. So Peter Dwan actually did a lot of the work here for me. He posted this thread on who Josh Mandel is. First, I want to cover what actually happened. So this is Josh Man's tweet here that predicted exactly on Pi Day, which is 3/14/2025, he predicted 84K Bitcoin. And what's very interesting is I have a very similar screenshot of this. So he said at the close of Bitcoin, Bitcoin trades 24/7. So the close, or when the new daily candles begin to get formed, is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 5 p.m. my time. So I was watching the chart, seeing if this was going to happen, and I got a very similar one. It depends on the trading pairs and the exchanges and the amount of liquidity. You're going to see a little bit different here and there. Some people were getting just under 84,000. Some people got 84,000 exactly. I think mine was $84,038 on exact close, so incredibly accurate. And predictions like this, they become infinitely more or less likely the more you predict the exact date and the exact dollar amount, right? So he said 84,000. He was going with 84,000 exactly. And to be so close to such a specific dollar amount at a specific time becomes incredibly unlikely. What we can see here actually is Jeff Walton actually posted this. He said, Josh Mandel was within 0.0027% of the actual close 129 days out. This seems as hard as guessing a seed phrase. That isn't accurate at all. And Checkmatey actually had to come in here and clarify that not to belittle the prediction, but guessing a seed phrase would be so many hundreds of orders of magnitude less likely. I saw another tweet. I can't remember who posted it, and I didn't bookmark it. But what's interesting about this is there have been people in the past that have predicted really similar types of events, not maybe to this exact accuracy, but one of them being Plan B with the stock to flow ratio. So he was right on two different predictions and then wrong on the third. So what's very interesting about that is people find that when somebody's right about a prediction, that they're going to believe the likelihood of their next prediction even more. So if somebody's right twice, it's going to create a lot of certainty for a lot of people to think that the third one is going to be correct. So what that means is oftentimes position sizes, according to that bet, is going to go up, which makes a lot more risk, right? So what Jeff said here really is that this is extremely unlikely. This prediction is just, so wild. Like we haven't really seen something like this before. Such an accurate prediction. And I think it's to be taken for what it is. And within this tweet that I'm going to read out, there's another prediction. So do we take the other prediction, the next prediction of Josh Mandel's, more seriously because he was right about this first one? I think we should be very cautious about that, because we could have some false confidence that this guy is from the future, that he knows these things are certain to happen. Yes, he was correct about this. Yes, he doubled down on it. Yes, he bet his own money on this prediction, but will he do it on the next one? And should we do it on the next one? I'm not so sure. So let's read out this tweet. It's a poem, so we kind of have to decipher it, which is a little bit interesting. But this is what he said, and he posted this on November 5th, 2024. So he said, "I hope that I have established a little bit of credibility with a few of you so that this will help. This time is different. The fourth turning is upon us. Thursday, 11/7, 1/16/2025, 3/14/2025. When 84 becomes the base, Bitcoin calls will melt their face. This is how you get ahead. Buy IBIT calls in size instead. 10 to 1, you'll ride it up. The stock it soars into the skies. Then sell the call and exercise. See the path of Pistol Pete. Try a slug and then repeat. Look every day at close and lows. When 84 is on the dot, the car will launch a real hole shot. Feel the G's, hear the roar. The coin won't stop 360 more. A trio of fours times a grand, that's the top. The BTC fades, this is how a cowboy trades. A nation state down by the sea, I think I'd call it empathy. No room for hate nor jealousy. Essentials, they would be on me. Work if you want, but just for fun. Think in the shade, play in the sun." Okay, so this is wild. And he reiterated another time. He actually called out Magoo Hodl and said the exact, not in this poem way, but he said, let's make a bet. I call Pi Day 84K on close. Tell me your price prediction, and we'll bet something on it. So that's another tweet he has. But what's interesting here is he said, when 84 is on the dot, the car will launch. Feel the G's, hear the roar. The coin won't stop 360 more. So my interpretation of this is 84 becomes a launching pad for the next 360 days. And then he's predicting a top here, a trio of fours times a grand. So 444 times 1,000 is $444,000. He's calling that the top, and the BTC fades after that. And so he's calling a top basically 359 days now, as it's the day after the prediction was prophesized. And he's calling the top 444,000, which is a lot higher than a lot of people think that this top is going to be. And he's saying that this bull run is going to last. My understanding of this is 360 days. I mean, he could be referencing the coin won't stop 360 more, maybe 360 as like going around in a circle, did a full 360. Not sure. I think it's a prediction of the days. Again, that's what's very cryptic and weird about this, is that it's posted in this rhyming poem scheme, and it's not. Maybe that's to like hide a little bit of, or not to put like, oh, I didn't say this, I said this kind of thing. I'm not sure. But what my understanding of it is that he's calling for a top in 360 days, so roughly a year from now, of 444,000. So he also makes a call on how to play this, right? So this is very interesting. So he says, buy IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF of Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin, calls in size. So instead of buying spot Bitcoin yourself, or, cold storage or anything like that, he's saying you buy calls. Now he doesn't say what duration, what out of the money, in the money. He doesn't say anything like that, but he says 10 to 1, you'll ride it up. His idea here is to buy IBIT calls. So that's leverage on Bitcoin with an option contract. and he's buying IBIT because it's the most liquid spot Bitcoin ETF out there for the options market. And he's saying buy it in size. So this is what he, I guess, is going to do. I'm not sure. I mean, again, this is posted in November, so has his thesis changed at all? I don't know. Copy trading is really, really dangerous, right? And again, he was right on one prediction. Will he be right on the other? Calls are inherently more risky than to buy actual Bitcoin. There's additional risk you take on buying IBIT, as they have custodial risk as well. Calls, if you don't pick an exit will be picked for you, which is the expiry date. And if they're out of the money, they expire worthless. So inherently more risk there as well. Josh Man has completely done all sorts of risky trades. Like I said, he turned 2 million into 20 million, selling in the money MicroStrategy covered calls. So again, that's a very risky play. Not the most risky play you could do, right? Because the only, like, the worst thing that could happen is you miss out on potential upside. You're still selling, you're still collecting premium, all that, right? So it's not the most risky. I would say this is a much riskier position, because he's predicting that the bull run is going to go, and it's going to go really high. So if you bought these calls, right, and if they were mispriced, and if Bitcoin does perform like Josh Man says, and you have these far out of the money, long dated Bitcoin ETF calls, you're going to make a ton of money from that. You would make a obscene amount of money from that. So maybe there's a part of your portfolio that you are a little more risky with. Call options, you got to think of them as a lottery ticket. You have to think of them as a gamble, because oftentimes the price is going to go against you in the time frame that you've bought this call for. And the call is going to expire worthless, or you're going to sell it back at a huge discount. So really from there, you can see that this guy's already legendary for his call. He's called something amazingly well. He'll be written into the history of Bitcoin, that's for sure. But who is he? Let's get a little deeper into this flannel wearing fellow here. So he called, Bitcoin was at 74,000 when he called this. So to say it would go up, what is that? Maybe 7-8% or something like that. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility. It's within that range. So it's a fair call to make. To be exactly, so close to that call, though, was really well done. So Peter has done some of the research here, and he says, who is Josh Mandel? Josh is a retired Wall Street trader with some of the most impressive credentials. Per his Twitter bio, he worked at Salomon Brothers during its heyday of 1990 to 98. Most recently, he was a trader at Caxton Associates, a $12 billion asset under management hedge fund with headquarters in New York, Singapore, Monaco, and Dubai. Why should you trust his Bitcoin judgment? As the saying in Bitcoin goes, don't trust, verify. That said, Josh Man has been trading Bitcoin and strategy in public for the last year. You can see all of his trade histories. He originally seeded his portfolio with $2.1 million approximately 1 year ago, and as of March 7, 2025, it has ballooned to $22 million. This is me reading it too, so I'm kind of learning this with you. I thought he made the 2 million into 20 million in the last 129 days. It's been a whole year that he's done that, which is unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable gains. Like, what is that? Like 1,000%? Insane. So this is some of his public facing portfolio that he's done. So he's got these really long calls that he's got $3.8 million just in cash. He's got some calls here, some 320s, 340s, expiring at different times throughout 2025. Looks like he's got shares of strategy as well. He's got more calls, further out of the money calls. His longest dated call here is the 325 at January 2026. He's got some puts as well. So he's got all sorts of interesting stuff. Now, this is, again, a very complex portfolio for the vast majority of people. So be careful trying to follow this. I mean, this guy is he's a wrecking ball, really. He's amazing, but nonetheless, it's a very intense portfolio for somebody that's underexperienced. So here is Peter Dwan's guess at what happens next. So 360 more, a trio of fours times a grand. This is likely referencing a move from 84K to around 444,000. 3 fours times 1,000. The poem suggests that 444 is his ultimate top forecast for Bitcoin this cycle. Now, what I'm thinking maybe is 360. Let's see here. Now, what I just realized is that the 360 is not days. That is just simply 360K times 84K equals 444,000. So he's actually not predicting a time for the top. He's within that sentence, he was just predicting the price of the top in fiat dollars. So my mistake there, but that should have been fairly obvious. But again, poems, there's a little bit of reading into them that needs to happen, unfortunately. So there's also been some additional stuff that Josh has said that's been very strange. He said that there's this rule that happened 30 years ago. He hasn't seen it happen in 30 years. He's the only one that knows about it. There was a book, but it was in Tower 7. I mean, it's starting to get really crazy and weird, some of the stuff that he's said. So Chad Slime here on Twitter said, Josh Mandel mentioned that he's only seen something like this once 30 years ago, but what happened exactly 30 years ago? So he's got just a snippet here from what looks like a search engine. After stumbling into the start of the year from drastic Federal Reserve rate hikes in 1994, this was 30 years ago, my birth year, the S&P 500 quickly regained its footings and rallied consistently higher throughout 1995, amassing 77 record highs along the way and setting a record for the largest number of new highs in a calendar year. So that's one thing that's very interesting about the stock market is once it starts making new highs, it oftentimes continues to make new highs because it's near that high that it had previously made, and with the volatility it's going to just kind of, you know, stair step up potentially. So this is maybe what he was referencing. 95 to 2000 was an epic run, of course, and then, you know, kind of exploded with the dot-com bubble. Is that what we're going to see? Is that what he's referencing? Jeff Walton also posted a comment here that says Republicans won the House of Representatives for the first time in 40 years in 1995. Mason, great comment here, says bingo, I think. Yes, really. I mean, there's a lot of cryptic reading in. I mean, do we know what this mysterious flannel man is actually meaning, what he's actually saying? I'm not so sure. I'm not going to trade on it. I do have some leverage positions that I plan on exiting this year that I'll keep you guys updated on. But how long am I going to wait? How long am I going to see the price go up on these options in this potential run up to 444? I'm not sure. I'll definitely exit them well before 444. That is for sure. And I will go into something not leveraged, something without expiry dates, something like Bitcoin, just straight up Bitcoin. And if you want to straight up get into some Bitcoin, the best way possible in my mind is to use Bitcoin Well. It's where I buy all my Bitcoin. They're a non-custodial exchange, which means that when you send them money, they send you Bitcoin directly to your hardware wallet. So you don't open yourself up to third-party risk like FTX or, you know, any of these other sketchy exchanges. If you use my code in the description, you'll actually get yourself some free Bitcoin on sign up. I also use Stampseed, which is a titanium seed kit, which you can stamp your seed phrase into, and it will outlast you. It will outlast. It's up to like 3,000 degrees in a fire, stuff like this. It's one of the best ways in my mind to preserve your seed phrase. And you can use my code BTC Not Crypto 15 and the link in the description. If you guys had any comments, in the comment section is the place to put those. Any questions? What do you think about Josh Mandel's epic call of 84K on Pi Day? And what do you think about his 444 call? And love to hear from you. And thanks everybody for watching. This has been Bitcoin, Not Crypto.